Hey, welcome to the Offline Podcast with John Jackson. Hey, we want you to subscribe to our team. So show us a little love by hitting that like button. We welcome comments and questions. So visit theofflinepodcast.com. Today is another great day on the podcast. We've got this guy hails from Detroit, Michigan. He went to Notre Dame. He was drafted by the LA Rams and the St. Louis Rams, and we'll figure that story out. He was drafted in 1993, first-round pick, the 10th pick overall in the draft. He spent 3 years with the Rams, 10 years with the Steelers, played in Super Bowl 40, which he won, six-time Pro Bowler, two-time first All-Pro, and second-team All-Pro. That really doesn't mean anything. He was a Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year in 2001, the NFL Comeback Player, 1996. He was the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 1993, and he's on the Pittsburgh Steelers all-time team. And he's a Hall of Famer in 2015. I want to welcome to the podcast, Jerome the Bus Bettis. What's going on, man?
Man, I can't complain. Thank you for having me, brother.
Hey, I appreciate you. I know you're busy right now. All that golf you're doing, huh?
Well, in a pandemic, there's not much you can do.
No, you're right. Hey, Jerome, so tell me, what was it like to play at Notre Dame, especially coming from Detroit?
Well, for me, it was a unique experience because obviously coming from the inner city of Detroit, I didn't know anything about Notre Dame. I didn't, when I first got my letter from Notre Dame, I didn't know where Notre Dame was. And so here I am because I didn't follow football as a kid. So as a kid, I grew up as a bowler. So I didn't have, dreams of playing in the NFL when I was 10 years old, 11. And so I didn't follow football. The only football that I watched was on Thanksgiving because the Lions, I'm from Detroit, and the Lions played every Thanksgiving. And so we were always with my family, and that was really the only time I watched football. So for me, when Notre Dame, sent the letter, I'm thinking, what is this? I don't want to go to Europe. And so that's what I was thinking, right? I'm a kid. I don't know anything about Notre Dame and the history and the legacy of the sport and the game and Newt Rockne, all this kind of stuff. So when I got there, it was a culture shock for me. It was totally different than what I had seen when I grew up in. And so it took some changing, but once I got there, Coach Holtz was amazing. He was a tough disciplinarian little guy. He wasn't a big guy, but he was big in stature. And so you get in line and you figure it out. And I was practicing against the best players, from all over the country. So it was a great experience. And really, that's where I really developed into the player that I would become going into the NFL.
So I didn't know you played linebacker in high school. So linebacker and running back.
I was an All-American linebacker. I was a parade All-American linebacker. When I came out, I was a number 2 linebacker prospect in the country. I was a number 1 fullback prospect in the country, but most of the schools that I was offering me a scholarship wanted me to play linebacker. There was only a handful of schools that wanted me to play fullback. So for me, I think it paid off.
I think you made the right decision.
I did.
You made the right decision.
And see, my dad was only 5'10", so I knew I wasn't going to be much taller than him. I barely got to, I'm 5'11" and 3/4, almost 6 foot. So I never got tall. I knew I wasn't going to be tall enough to play linebacker. So it was smart for me to play fullback.
So what was your biggest thing that you learned at Notre Dame, especially coming from the inner city?
Well, for me, I was able to understand work ethic. I saw my dad work 2 jobs, and he worked his butt off for us as a family. But for me, developing the work ethic on the football field, that's what I was able to develop after, going there, seeing the great players ahead of me, seeing how they practice, being challenged. So for me, when I left Notre Dame, the work ethic is what really propelled me in the NFL, because here I was again. When I got to the NFL, I changed positions. I was a fullback through high school, through college, and all of a sudden they put me at tailback, which is totally different from fullback. So my work ethic was what was able to get me through it, because I had to, it's kind of like playing, if you were a left tackle and they put you to guard, left guard. It's like, oh, that shouldn't be that hard. No, it is hard. It's totally
That's
different,
hard.
right?
Yeah.
It's a totally different thing that's happening. And so for me, I had to learn not to run over people and try to run around them or make a miss, because as a tailback, your job is to get the most yards for your team. As a fullback, your job, when you get the ball, is a luxury. You just want to hit somebody and get a first down.
Right.
And so, yeah.
You know, one thing I appreciate about you, you never ran up my ass. And I appreciate that.
I was always conscious of that too.
And I used to tell people, you look at football today, it's like, why is that guy running up those guys' asses? That ain't good. You might not run up their ass, because those are guys blocking for you, right?
That's right. And the only time that you do that is when a guy is consistently it's when a guy, one of your offensive linemen, is consistently in the hole, and you tell him, hey man, keep your feet moving. You gotta go. I'm in the hole. And I've said it once or twice, and when guys don't do it, then I gotta run up your back. But guess what? All it takes is one time. Then he's gonna get his butt out of the way, and you're gonna see those feet moving, and the hole is gonna get bigger.
Well, you'd have to tell me that, because I knew. All I heard was a swoosh go by. All I heard was a swoosh go by, and I was like, okay, now he's bobbing, so I'm good. Well,
see, you had the benefit and luxury of being very talented. But by the time I got to you, you had all the tricks in the trade. So you knew how to get your guy and move your guy out the way. And if you wasn't moving him, you were just positioning yourself to be between me and him. And so you always did a great job at that. So I never had to wonder what you were going to be doing or where you would be. I always knew where you would be.
All I knew was get the hell out of the damn way. I was like, I want no part of that. I want no part of that. So tell me, what was it like? You go to Notre Dame. You have a stellar career at Notre Dame, and now all of a sudden, hey, you got a chance to be drafted. So what was that decision? Because you left school early, right?
I did. I left school after my junior year, and there was some thought about me leaving after my sophomore year, and I knew I wasn't ready after my sophomore year, and then really after my junior year, I wasn't certain. And I had a meeting with Coach Holtz, and he is the one that told me that I had done all I could do here, and it was time for me to take the leap. And so for me, it was refreshing to hear, because I really wasn't certain. Because you got to remember, I played high school, and then I played in college. And in high school, my first year, I played linebacker as a freshman. My sophomore year, I played tight end and nose guard. So I didn't play running back until my junior high school. And so I had 2 years of high school and 3 years in college. And then they asked me to move to another position. So I was understandably a little bit concerned about, was I going to be able to make that jump to the NFL?
Right. So you get drafted by the LA Rams / St. Louis Rams. So were you in that transition when they moved to St. Louis?
Yeah. So I played 2 seasons in LA with the Rams, and then we left, and the team went to St. Louis. So that's kind of how it worked. It happened. And moving to St. Louis was a shock in and of itself. You leave LA, going to St. Louis, nobody wanted to go, so it was.
Well, hell, it had to be a real shock for you moving St. Louis to Pittsburgh. That had to be the ultimate shock.
But you know what? The difference there was they had just the Steelers had just lost in the Super Bowl. So I'm thinking to myself, this is a perfect scenario. I'm going to a championship caliber team. I'm the missing link. We're going to be perfect. That's what I was thinking in my head.
Dude, it's hard to get back to that bowl.
It's
Hard to get back.
hard. It's hard.
I tell
It's
people
hard.
like, woo. I mean, that was me and Namani's 8th year, and we got there, and we were like, man, this is a struggle. So
Yeah.
tell me about what you think about the offensive line when you got there, because we used to love to run the ball.
Oh my goodness! When I got to Pittsburgh, it was totally different. I mean, the offensive line, you guys were incredible. I mean, go left or go right. We were just as dangerous and as deadly. And that's when I started to run draws. So my first couple of years, we were really downhill, right at you. And when I got to Pittsburgh, they had a different type of running, where they had the boss play, where you had to kind of be patient. And so I had to learn how to be a little bit more patient as a runner. And then they had the draw plays where you had to kind of take a step and let it happen and before you go and set up blocks. And so it was a much different and more sophisticated running game when I got to Pittsburgh. And I just flourished in it. I enjoyed it. I learned very quickly. And then I went out and had success. So the offensive line, though, was the key to my success, 100%.
No, we enjoy blocking for you, dude. I mean, hey, I got a segment I want to do. It's called First Down. So this is always like your first. So do you remember your first touchdown in the NFL?
My first touchdown, I believe it was against the Steelers in was it against the Steelers?
In Anaheim?
Yeah, I think it was against the Steelers in Anaheim. I think it was. I'm not certain, but I believe that's the one I remember.
All I remember is you run up our ass, and I was like, man, this is not gonna be a good day. This is not gonna be a good day.
That was my first. That was the first game that I actually. I think that was one of my first starts as well. I had been coming in and playing, but that was the first time the first game that I got to start. I want to say, and it was had a great game, and that's the real reason that I ended up in Pittsburgh after having such a good game playing for the Rams.
Yeah, we were like, okay, we can use him on this side of the ball. Hey, what about another one? What was your longest reception?
Oh boy, longest reception.
Mm-hmm. More than 20 yards? More than 30?
Okay. Here's what I'll say. My longest reception, not counting screens, because screens, that for a running back, that's like almost like a run. My longest reception was, I think, about a 22-yard reception. We were playing Kansas City. I'll never forget, on Monday night, Mike Tomczak, which is the craziest quarterback I ever played with. I had to run a deep 20-yard in route. And all I was supposed to do was to influence the safety, right? I was just getting in the way. Then the real routes were outside of me, right? Because it was me running inside, because I'm the tailback. I go in motion and I run out and I go, and it was supposed to be the shorter routes that he throw to. For some reason, I make my break at 20 yards and I see the ball coming. And I'm like, first of all, we practiced this about 5 or 10 times, right, during the last 3 or 4 weeks. I never, ever saw the ball. I mean, not even sniff, not even jokingly, they throw it to me. So at no point did I thought I was going to get the ball. I come out the break, and the ball is coming to me. I'll never forget. I said, "Oh shit!" I am running the route, and I said, "Oh shit!" Yeah. And I'm like, I knew I was going to get hit, because when I made the break, I saw the safety right there, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't believe he threw this to me." So I caught it, and I got smacked by the safety right there, and I jumped up. And I was more hurt that he threw it to me. I wasn't hurt by the safety. I was like, what were you thinking? and I come to the huddle, and he's dying laughing. And he says, man, you were open. And I'm like, what? Don't ever do that to me again.
Dude, what's your funny Tom Zach story? Because I got a few funny Tom Zach stories. Tom Zach he was the funniest guy I've ever been in the huddle with.
Hilarious. We playing. I can't remember who we were playing, but this fool, he backs up and he trips, and he's laying on his back, and instead of him taking a sack, he decides to throw the ball up in the air. I mean, it's like, what are you doing, right? Most quarterbacks, you got to protect your football. He literally is on the ground and just throws it up in the air. Fortunately for us, it wasn't intercepted, but I was thinking to myself, this guy is really crazy because nobody would have ever done something like that.
So you're like this. So we're playing Detroit, and it's actually the first game of the season. Mike Tomczak is starting, and Mike Tomczak, he goes back, and all I remember is I got the defensive end. I got him locked, and the guy just stops, and I'm like, so I stop. The next thing I know, I look out, and here comes Mike Tomczak, and he gets blasted. I mean, his shoulder pads like up here. He comes back to the huddle, and he goes, won't do that shit again. I said, dude, what are you thinking about? I said, come on, man. He said, you're making me look bad. But Mike was always funny. Mike tried to keep us calm in the huddle, and that's what I loved about Mike.
Yeah.
He was always joking in the huddle.
He always joking.
And especially when we needed it. He knew exactly when we needed a laugh. And that's what I loved about Mike. I actually saw him in Pittsburgh, and I looked at him, I was like, damn, you're getting old. I was like, because remember, Mike had that baby face. And I'm thinking,
he always
I said,
did.
Tomczak? I said, Tomczak? Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, tell me, what was it like playing with two guys from Eastern Kentucky? Your number one boy, Tim Lester. I mean, he blocked for you with the Rams, and he blocked for you in Pittsburgh. And see, I really never got a chance to know Tim until we got to Pittsburgh.
I got you. You know what? It was pretty unique. Obviously, Tim was special because he would put himself in harm's way every play. I mean, he would try to knock the guy out, or he would knock himself out. He was that type of attacking style fullback. And what I've realized is all of you guys from and all the guys that has come out of there, they have a very aggressive attitude, and I think it's part of coming from a small program, but now the program is gaining in stature, and I see everything that's happening in the program. But Tim was.
But they're not winning
special.
now. They're not winning now.
I know.
They're not winning.
They were going up, and then they kind of come back down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing down in Eastern was we won. I mean, bar none. I mean, that's the whole thing that I remember. But I remember Tim was a freshman when I was a senior, so that's how we kind of overlapped.
Oh, okay.
But I was so happy to see him. I was so happy to see him when he came, because there was another EKU guy in there, and
that's right.
That always did my heart good.
We got to get those EKU
guys
right?
in there. That's right. That's
exactly.
right. Hey, it's the Harvard of the South, as we call it.
Way south, dude.
Oh, way south. Hey, so what was it like playing for Bill Cowher?
Coach Cowher was great because Coach Cowher was a player's coach. I got a chance to play for Lou Holtz, and Lou Holtz was incredible, but he was a disciplinarian, and it was his way, and whatever he said went. And Coach Cowher, he was the same type of way, but he did it in a different fashion. He gave the players a lot of input. Although he still decided on everything, the players had a voice to a degree. And so you could talk to him, and he would ration with you. Ultimately, he would make the final decision, but he was great at working with the players. And I think that's the part that we all appreciated as players, him being a former player, that I could appreciate.
So tell me a funny story about Bill Cowher.
A funny story about Bill Cowher. Well,
And then I'll give you
one of the funny ones. One of the funny ones was we were playing against the Rams, and he knew, it was the year after they traded me to Pittsburgh, and I wanted to crush him, and I was pumped. Me and Tim, we were, we had been gassing up and lubing up the whole week, right? So
Right.
Coach knew I was wound up. And so when the game went on, he would say little things like, all right, stay focused. I'm like, oh, trust me, I'm focused, right? And we went off, and I had over 100 yards, 150 yards, about 3 quarters. And then he decided to take me out of the game. And we still had a quarter left. And I'm saying to myself, whoa, Coach, you can't take me out, right? I want to go for 200 on these clowns. And he's like, man, we're going to need you for the playoffs, right? And that's my first year with him, and I don't know. I'm so pissed off at the Rams. I'm like, no, Coach, you can't take me out, man. No, this is my moment, He says, man, Jerome, he says, I'm gonna tell your mother. And I'm like, what? And that's exactly what I said. What? He said, yeah, I know your mother, and she's sitting over there in the front row. I'm gonna tell your mother. And it lightened me up so much. I was like, no, you can't tell my mother. Oh, and then we start laughing and joking. Yeah, it was, I was in this serious moment, and I'm like, nobody. He says, I'm going to tell your mother. And I'm like, huh? So he diffused the bomb by telling me that he was going to tell my mother. And after that, we started laughing and joking, and then I was comfortable with leaving the game.
Right. No, my moment was I had just signed an extension, and so I'm taking the whole offensive line out for drinks. So I was like, you know what, let's take everybody. So I take the free agent guys, and we all go up to Bobby Dale's and have a drink. And I was like, listen, we're going to get back at 12. Well, they did a room check, and nobody's in the room. And first thing I'd go is Coach Carr. I go, Coach, I had everybody out. I was taking for drinks, celebrating my my extension. I'm excited, that I'm going to be here for a few more years. And he was like, John, he says, good. He goes, because I had no idea where all you guys were. He goes, I don't worry about you guys. I worry about the other guys. And we're like, I said, Coach, everybody's back in the room. So the next day we come down, and I remember Lonnie Palele? He was a little small guy.
Samoan,
he was an offensive lineman.
Okay.
So Lonnie is in line, and they had all the rookies like lined up in a line. They had all the vets lined up in a line. So I see Kyra going down to each guy, and so we have a water break, and Lonnie comes over. He goes, John, you got me in trouble. I said, no, I didn't. I said, I talked to Bill. Bill said it was good. He said, no. He said, you see those guys over there in that line? And we go, yeah. He goes, I need those guys. He goes, but I don't need your ass. This is another one of my curfews. And I was like, whoa. I was like, okay. So I said, So I got to Coach Carr and said, Coach, I thought we were good. He goes, we are. He goes, I said, but you got on them. He goes, yeah, I got on them because you guys are good. But those guys, I don't need those fucking guys. I need you guys. And I'm like, okay, enough said.
That's it. Hey, that's the end of that.
That's the end of that. And I was like, okay. And I was like, hey, guys, you better make sure you're on time because you might get cut sooner than later, right? No.
That's it.
Hey, what do you remember about the first playoff game in Pittsburgh? Your first playoff game, because did you play any playoff games with the Rams?
No. My first playoff game was against my first playoff game. I got hurt at the end of the season, and I believe my first playoff game was against Indianapolis at home, and we beat Indianapolis. I want to say yes, we beat Indianapolis, and then we had to we played New England, and I was hurt.
Oh yeah. It was
We
cold
played
and it was
at
fall.
New
Yeah.
England. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's when I'm trying to think what happened. Oh, a double move. I can't remember the wide receiver. They had the wide receiver that Parcells used to call the girl or her or whatever. I can't think of the name. Rod Woodson got beat on a double move by the guy. He went to Ohio State. He was a first round pick for the Patriots, but I can't remember his name. But there was an issue because Parcells didn't want to draft him, and they drafted him anyway, and so he wouldn't call him by his name or something like that. I can't remember
That
his
was
name, but he was a
Parcells,
good
though.
player. Yeah, that was
Yeah, that was
and
Parcells.
that was we went up there and we got beat, and that was my first. But my first playoff game was against Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm. So what was what would you say one of your best games were in Pittsburgh when I was there?
One of my best games. Oh, man, we had some great ones.
We had some good ones.
I had a really memorable one down in Jacksonville. I think it was my first year we played them, and I had a long run. You know what it was? It went your way. It was that draw where
The
you kind of
Sprint
take two
43.
steps. That sprint
Mm-hmm.
43. Woo! And it was off to the left. I ran and I ended up running and I ended up running out of bounds and the guy pushed me and I ended up sitting on their bench and I crossed I kind of leaned back, crossed my legs on their bench. So I think it was a Monday Night Football game too, and that might have been the one where Coach went to punch the guy, but that was a pretty good one. You remember that when Coach the guy we went to win the game and they was kicking the field goal and they
Mm-hmm.
blocked the field goal, running it back, and Coach Cowher was kind of came off the sideline, was like about to punch the guy as he ran it back.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So I think that was that game. But I had a pretty good game that game. But I had some really good games my first year there. There was
Yeah, because you
it's pretty special.
got your first year you had over 1,400 yards, which
Yeah,
made
yeah.
you
It
some
was a
money.
big year. It did.
Yeah, it made you
There's
we
no
made you a
doubt.
little money. We made you a little money.
Because my contract, I became a free agent if I rushed for 1,200 yards. And so, because I had a provision in my rookie contract that said if I went to the Pro Bowl twice,
Mm-hmm.
no, if I went to the Pro Bowl once and rushed for 1,200 yards twice, then my contract would go from a 5-year to a 4-year deal. And so, when I got to Pittsburgh, the Steelers tried to have me sign an extension for like $600,000. And I was like, no way. So I said no because I knew if I rushed for 1,200 yards, then I became a free agent. And lo and behold, I went for 1,400 and ching, 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 ching.
No, we're glad. You know what? We were so happy that you know what you because you won the Russian title that year, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
You won
You
the
know what?
Russian title, or you
I
second?
could have, but I sat out. We played Carolina down in Carolina the last game, and I decided
Okay.
not to play. And everybody was like surprised that I didn't play. But I wanted to win a championship, so it didn't really matter to me. But I made sure that I took care of you guys. I think I remember.
You did. You always
I
took
think
care of us.
I think I got some gifts for all the boys up front.
Yeah, you got a few gifts for us. You got a few gifts, and we always thank you for that.
I made sure of that.
Yeah, that was that. You know, you showed you appreciated us, and that
That's
meant
right.
that
That's
meant the
right.
world to us. Yeah, that meant the world to us. Hey, what about winning the Super Bowl? I
Oh,
mean, that's like the
man.
ultimate right there. And you played in Super Bowl 40, and I played in Super Bowl 30. How about that?
Wow.
That was the last time
Right.
that the Steelers had went to the
It's
Super
just
Bowl.
into it. Right. And for me, it was my last year. So not only that, it was
Did
in
you
my
know that going in? Did
hometown.
you know that going into the season, or was that?
Yes. Oh, well, yes. I knew it going in because the year before I had tried to retire and they talked me out of retiring. So I knew that was my last year and I knew that was my last game. The fact that it was in my hometown, My family got a chance to see it. I mean, it was a magical, magical ride. The one thing that I did, which when I look back on it was crazy, I ended up buying a suite for my family. And I didn't realize how expensive the suites were for Super Bowls. So I literally played that game for free. Because not only did I have a suite, I had another 30 tickets. So I had 30 tickets and a suite. So I played the game for free. I actually had to give money back for that game. So that game cost me an awful lot. But I got the
ring, dude.
So I got the ring. So
ring.
That's what it's all about. I got the chip.
That is definitely what it's all about. Hey, Jerome, can you hold on for 1 second? I got to do a commercial, actually an advertisement for my good friends at Bell's House of Tobacco. Hey, if you want a fine cigar, shop at Bell's House of Tobacco. Ask for John Bell. He will definitely make sure you get the right cigar, but I tell you, he's got some quality stuff. This one right here is a CAO. It's one of my favorites. And every week I'll have my favorite cigar. This is a CAO. Just ask John what my favorites are when you go in there. And I guarantee you, you won't be disappointed. Now, on the bottom of the screen, you'll see his email and his phone number. Hey, give John Bell a call or look him up online and stop by his shop because you will not be disappointed in the cigar that you get because I'm smoking this after this. Okay. So tell me when I left Pittsburgh, I missed you guys, man. I did. I missed you guys a lot because I go to San Diego and that was different. But then I come to Cincinnati and that was way different. Cincinnati was like some dark ages. I tell people that you find out what an organization is when you go there, but when you come from a certain organization that has certain standards that they can't match, I was in San Diego and believe me, they were paying me good money, but I was miserable, literally miserable. And in Cincinnati, when I came to Cincinnati to be a backup, not to be a starter. And everybody's like, but you came to Cincinnati you came to play. No, I came to sit on the bench. And all I want to do was just play a little bit, Jerome. But I ended up playing a lot. And my first start was when Corey Dillon broke that rushing record. He had that 278, and I pulled my hamstring. And I was out for about 6-7 weeks. And first time I pulled my hamstring since college. So I knew I was getting there as far as the retirement stuff. But you played 13 years as a running back. I mean, I thought I had some wear and tear at 14, but I know you got some wear and tear. That's a lot of running, brother. That's a lot of running.
It was a lot of running. And the good thing for me, though, is I had a lot of tread on the tires because of me not playing Little League, me not playing a lot in high school, and only playing 3 years in college. So I think at every phase and every level, I didn't get beat up at the position. So I think that was the one benefit that gave me the ability to play a few more years than a lot of guys because I didn't have a lot of that the extra miles on the body as some of the other running backs did.
Right, and as far as me being an offensive lineman, I only played 1 year in high school. I played 1 year in high school. Yeah, and I started my senior year in high school, and then everybody wanted me to play defense, but I go to Eastern Kentucky and they recruited me as a defensive end, and I tell them no, I want to play offensive tackle, and Coach Kidd was like, son, you can play anywhere you want to play, and that's the best decision I ever made. But he made me the first year. He made me run with the defense. I literally had to run with the defensive line. I couldn't run with the offense. And he was like, okay. Second year, he's like, okay, I'm putting you down there. He goes, but I don't expect you to be last. So I was just like lapping everybody. I mean, running. What was the so what's the biggest thing? I know you're from Detroit and you're living in Detroit and you play your last game in Detroit. So what's the best thing about going home and playing your last game?
The best thing for me was for my mother and father to have a moment where they had the opportunity to invite the entire team to our home, and she fed the entire team, and that was a moment that my mother and father had. The media came, and it was a special moment for them, and it was their moment kind of to shine in all of this, because my mom and dad, in the 13 years, they came to every single football game that I ever played, home and away. So
Really?
they never missed one game my entire career. So, even if I wasn't playing, they were still there, and so this was the culmination of that journey with me, for them to host the whole team and to have everybody for dinner. That was a special time, and that's one moment that I'll never forget.
No. So let's talk about your charity work. Being a Steeler, I think the biggest thing is we always learn one thing: you got to give back, and that's what the Rooney family is all about. But tell me what you're doing now with giving back to different organizations and your own organization.
Yeah, well, the foundation, we've done a whole lot of things, but the one thing that I'm proud of that we're doing right now in the COVID
What's the name of your
era
foundation?
is the Bus Stops Here Foundation. And
Okay.
what we're doing right now, we're dealing with COVID, is we're providing laptops for kids to continue with their educational needs, and that's, a lot of people don't really understand or know or realize that there's some kids that don't have access to laptops or to the internet. So it's important for us to do our part. And my foundation, we've given away over 100 laptops, and we're continuing to do more. We're raising money. We're doing all those things that we have to do to provide the opportunity for our young people, because there is a digital divide in this country, and everyone thought that it wasn't there. But as COVID has affected all of these school districts and forced kids to stay home, now we're really seeing that there is a huge divide that we've got to help and solve it.
Right. So, Jerome, that's great. So let's talk about what stood out for you in the NFL this week, as far as different teams.
Well, just obviously the Steelers, being undefeated, that was big. But to watch, the Tennessee Titans, to see what they were able to do, they look really impressive. But I think the game that no one saw coming was the Tampa Bay Buccaneer game. To see the Tampa Bay Bucks, to see how they dismantled the Green Bay Packers systematically. I mean, offensively, defensively, they just didn't allow them to get going. And I don't think anyone saw that coming, especially as well as Aaron Rodgers had been playing at the beginning of the season.
Right. I always thought that Tampa Bay had a really good defense. They just needed a little rest as far as the offense staying on the field a little longer. And they had some turnovers, and it's one of those things where I think they're only going to get better, especially with Brady being back there. So tell me, what do you think about Brady being in his 20th year?
You know what? He's still a really good football player. He still is a top 20 quarterback. I mean, he's no longer probably in that top 5, top 7, but he still can get the job done. He's very cerebral in his approach. He knows what he wants to do, where he wants to go with the football, and now he has the weapons that he can go out and utilize. So I still think they're going to be a very dangerous football team. Defense, so they're going to be in the hunt for a championship because Tom Brady is not going to pass that kept them from being a playoff caliber football team.
Right. So, Jerome, I got to ask you this question about – I read this article about you saying that the Steelers need to get a young quarterback. So what's up with that?
No, I don't remember saying something like that. What did I say?
It was about they need to trade for a young quarterback, a backup for Ben.
No, I think the question was raised about Sam Darnold if he became available, and I said, well, yeah, if you get a guy that's been drafted high and still young, if he becomes available, yeah, you want to bring a guy in like that and let him develop in the system. It's not taking anything away from Ben, but it's just saying that
it's not.
you want to get ready for the future. And then, he has, I believe, 2 to 3 more big years. But after that, you got to figure out who's going to be your quarterback. And you need to have an understanding because right now you look at the Patriots, they don't know who their quarterback of the future is going to be. And I think that's, they traded away their quarterback of the future. And now they're in a situation where they're going to be like most NFL teams trying to guess at the quarterback position.
No, right. I mean, the Steelers drafted a couple quarterbacks, but they're not panning out. They didn't pan out. I can't remember the kid that got hit with the helmet. Rudolph?
Yeah, Mason Rudolph.
Yeah. So what stands out with you as far as this team being 5-0? I mean, we've been on some teams, and definitely the camaraderie's there. But what stands out with this particular team this year?
Well, what stands out to me is that, they're a complete football team. You look at their ability to run the football. They can run the football with power. They can throw the football down the football field. They got weapons at every level. When you look at defensively, aggressive defensive line, playing spectacular. They have really good linebackers. Unfortunately, Devin Bush went out for the year. That's going to hurt them ultimately long run for this season. But then the secondary is strong as ever. So they've got a complete football team, which is really impressive and it's fun to watch. Actually,
no, they're definitely fun to watch. Hey, Jerome, I know you're busy right now. Looks like you're going to play golf. So at least I hope you are. And
I got to catch some daylight.
I know you do. Left. I know you do. And Jerome, I appreciate you. I know how busy you are. I appreciate your time. But, hey, I just want to make sure everybody knows that this is the Offline podcast. And make sure you subscribe to and join our team. Show us a little love by hitting that like button. And we welcome comments and questions. So if you want to keep in touch with us, go to theofflinepodcast.com to stay in contact with us. Hey, make sure that everybody votes this year. And Jerome, I appreciate you, brother. And we'll be teeing it up pretty soon, somewhere.
No doubt about it, brother. I appreciate you, and thank you for all that you did for me. I really appreciate it. And I talk to every time I get a chance to see one of the guys that blocked for me, I always like to extend my gratitude. Say thank you again, man, for putting yourself on the line, for helping me out. It meant the world to me, so I appreciate you, brother.
You mean the world to me. Hey, good luck on hitting that little white ball, and you have a good time, brother. Be good.
All righty.
We're
Take
out.
care.
Thanks.